The sun was setting slowly behind the hills when a black luxury car turned into the private road leading to a grand mansion. The air was calm, and the golden light touched every corner of the tall iron gates. Inside the car sat Marcus, a tall man in a dark suit, returning home after weeks away on a business trip. His eyes were tired, but peaceful. He had missed this view, his mansion, his dream home, as the car rolled closer. Marcus smiled and pressed the button to open the gate. But something strange happened. The gate didn't move. Instead, 2 security guards stepped forward, blocking the entrance with their hands raised. Marcus lowered his window, thinking there must be some mistake. "Evening, gentlemen. You can open the gate." "I live here," he said calmly. One of the guards shook his head. "Sorry, sir. You can't enter. This is private property." Marcus blinked, confused. "Yes, I know. It's my property." Second guard frowned. "Sir, please turn your car around. The residents don't allow visitors without permission." Marcus gave a small laugh, not out of anger but disbelief. "I think you're confused. My name is Marcus Reed. I own this house." The guards exchanged looks. One of them picked up the walkie-talkie and said, "We have someone claiming to be the owner at Gate 3. Marcus sighed quietly. He had expected a warm welcome home, not a scene like this. Within minutes, another car pulled up, a silver SUV. Out came 2 people in business clothes, the HOA representatives. A man and a woman, both wearing badges and the same disapproving look. The woman stepped forward first. "Sir, this area is restricted. Are you sure you're in the right neighborhood?" Marcus looked at her, calm but firm. "I've been in the right neighborhood for 5 years. This is my house." The man beside her crossed his arms. "Do you have proof of that?" Marcus nodded. He pulled out his ID, then a key card, then a digital gate code on his phone. "Here, everything matches this address." But the HOA members didn't even take a proper look. The woman shook her head slightly. "We've never seen you before. The owner of this mansion is someone else, I think." Marcus stared at them in silence. He felt a mix of frustration and sadness rising in his chest. He had worked his whole life to build this place. But standing at his own gate, he suddenly felt like a stranger. Behind the guards, some neighbors had started gathering. A few whispered. Others just watched, their faces curious, some even recording on their phones. Marcus took a deep breath. "Listen, I just came back from a business trip. My family is inside. You can call them." One of the guards hesitated. "Sir, we can't do that without HOA approval." Marcus leaned back in his seat, silent for a moment. The sound of birds faded. The wind stopped. There was only stillness, and his calm voice breaking it. "So you're not going to open my gate?" The guard looked down, uncomfortable. "Orders, sir." Marcus nodded slowly. His hand tapped the steering wheel. He wasn't angry. Not yet. But his eyes were sharp now. The HOA man said, "Sir, please leave. If you don't, we'll have to call the police." Marcus smiled faintly. "You might want to hold that thought." He reached for his phone and made a short call. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Team Alpha, Code Black. Gate 3. The woman frowned. "What does that mean?" Marcus didn't answer. He just stepped out of the car, straightened his jacket, and looked directly at the guards. The evening light caught his face, calm, strong, and unbothered. Everyone at the gate could feel the change in the air. Something was about to happen. The camera would focus on Marcus's face, the quiet determination in his eyes. The music would slow down, building tension. Then far in the distance, the sound of engines echoed deep and steady. Black SUVs appeared one by one on the road, moving fast toward the mansion gate. The guards turned, shocked. The HOA members froze. Marcus just stood there, silent, as the cars rolled closer. Voiceover. They didn't believe he belonged here. But in 10 minutes, everyone at that gate would know exactly who Marcus Reed really was. The sound of the black SUVs grew louder as they stopped right behind Marcus's car. The guards' faces turned pale. 5 vehicles, all identical, lined up perfectly like soldiers taking position. The air was heavy, filled with silence and curiosity. The HOA woman stepped back, her voice shaky. Who are these people? Marcus didn't answer. The first SUV door opened, and out came a tall man dressed in tactical uniform, calm, focused, eyes sharp. Behind him, more men stepped out, all in black. Wearing earpieces and moving with perfect discipline, the lead man walked to Marcus and saluted. Sir, we got your call. Situation. Marcus replied quietly, They're stopping me from entering my own home. The guard at the gate swallowed hard. The HOA members looked at each other, unsure what to say. The lead officer turned to them. You're blocking the owner of this property? The woman forced a nervous smile. We're just doing our duty. We've never seen him before. Marcus crossed his arms. That's the problem. You see me, but you don't know me. The officer nodded once. Sir, permission to verify ownership? Marcus gestured toward the gate. Go ahead. One of the team members walked to the security panel. Within seconds, typed a few commands and the system displayed the registered name, Marcus Reed, owner. Everyone froze. The guard's face turned red. Sir, I didn't know. Marcus's tone stayed calm. You didn't ask? The HOA man tried to recover his pride. Look, Mr. Reed, you have to understand. We just wanted to protect the community. Marcus took a slow step forward. His presence was calm but heavy. You protected no one. You embarrassed me in front of my own neighbors. You didn't even look at my ID. The woman looked down. It's a misunderstanding. Marcus shook his head. No, it's a judgment. You saw my skin before you saw my name? The words hit harder than any shout. The crowd, now larger, went silent. The guards lowered their eyes. Marcus turned to his team. Stand down, men. The special ops crew stepped back in unison, but they didn't leave. Their presence alone demanded respect. Every movement was sharp, every stance steady. The message was clear. This man wasn't ordinary. The HOA man tried to lighten the moment. Mr. Reed, maybe you could have just called ahead next time. Marcus gave a small smile. I don't need permission to enter my own house. Silence after that was long and heavy. The only sound was the faint hum of the SUV engines. Then suddenly, a little boy from the nearby house shouted, That's the man from the magazine. The soldier. All heads turned. The HOA woman blinked. Magazine? The boy ran to his mother, showing something on his tablet. It was an article Marcus read, From Soldier to Millionaire Entrepreneur. His photo was right there, standing in front of the same mansion. The HOA members' faces turned pale again. They looked at Marcus, realizing the man they had stopped wasn't just rich, he was respected, honored, and powerful. Marcus looked around slowly, his expression unreadable. You called me a trespasser. Next time, maybe ask before you judge. The lead officer stepped forward again. Sir, shall we file a report? Marcus shook his head. No. Let them live with their mistake. He walked toward the gate, and this time it opened instantly. The digital lock clicked, and the heavy iron doors swung wide, almost like they knew who their real master was. As he passed, the guards stepped aside, heads lowered. The HOA man tried one last time. Mr. Reed, please, understand. Marcus stopped and turned slightly. I understand perfectly. Some people see wealth and respect, others only see color. But me? I see truth. He walked through the gate without another word. His team followed behind him for a few steps before turning back to the SUVs. The HOA members stood frozen, faces pale, watching the man they had insulted disappear into the mansion. One of the guards whispered, Who exactly is he? The officer beside him replied quietly, Someone you should never have questioned. The camera zooms in on Marcus as he walks toward his front door. His face is calm again, but his eyes still carry the storm. Voiceover. They thought power lived behind gates and rules. They forgot real power walks through them without asking. Inside the mansion, Marcus walked through the long hallway lined with photographs, some framed, some just pinned with old tape. Each picture told a story. One showed a young boy standing barefoot on a cracked street. Another showed soldiers in dusty uniforms, smiling in the middle of a desert. Marcus stopped in front of a photo of himself, years younger, holding a rifle with his team behind him. He stared at it quietly. His reflection on the glass seemed heavier than before. The world saw a rich man in a luxury suit. But before the mansion, before the cars, before the business empire, there was a boy who had nothing. Marcus. Reed grew up in a small neighborhood on the south side of town. Life there was hard, unfair, and loud. His mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. His father was gone before he turned 10. There were nights when they had no dinner, just hope and promises. But even as a child, Marcus was different. When other kids ran from problems, he faced them. He protected the smaller kids from bullies. He studied under streetlights when the power went out. He used to tell his mother, "One day we'll have a house where the lights never go off." She would smile and say, "Then promise me you'll earn it with honor." That promise never left him. When he turned 18, Marcus joined the Special Operations Forces. Many said he wouldn't survive the training. But he did more than survive, he excelled. He became one of the most trusted members of his unit. His team called him Ghost because he moved silently. But his presence was felt by everyone. He saw things during those years that most people couldn't imagine. Danger, loss, fear, but also courage, brotherhood, and respect. Once, during a mission overseas, Marcus saved his entire unit by staying behind to hold off enemy fire. When reinforcements arrived, he was found injured but alive. For that, he was awarded the Medal of Valor. But Marcus never bragged about it. He always said, "Medals don't make you brave. Choices do." After leaving the military, Marcus entered the private security world. With his leadership, discipline, and calm nature, people trusted him instantly. Within 5 years, he'd built one of the top-rated security companies in the country. Reed Tactical Systems, he trained bodyguards, corporate teams, and even government officials. His company guarded CEOs, diplomats, and even world leaders. But Marcus stayed humble. He still drove himself to work. He still greeted every employee by name when he finally bought his mansion. It wasn't just a home, it was a symbol of everything he had fought for. A promise kept to his mother. A reminder that no matter where you start, discipline and dignity can take you anywhere. Yet tonight, at his own gate, the same man who had been trusted to protect nations was told he didn't belong. As he stood there in front of the photo wall, his mind went back to his mother's words. Respect is not given by what you have, but by how you stand when they try to take it away. He smiled faintly. His daughter's laughter echoed from upstairs. That sound grounded him. It reminded him why he had built this life. Not for pride, but for peace. He poured himself a glass of water and walked to the balcony. The night was quiet now. The gate outside was still visible, glowing under the streetlights. He could see the same guards standing awkwardly by the road, still ashamed of what had happened. Marcus took a deep breath. "People fear what they don't understand," he whispered. He remembered the streets he grew up on, the looks he got when he walked into meetings, the whispers behind his back, and how he never fought with anger, only with success. Every insult had become fuel. Every barrier, a lesson. The world had tried to lock him out many times. Tonight was just another gate. Marcus smiled softly. "They'll learn," he said under his breath. "They always do." The camera zooms out, showing Marcus standing on the balcony, city lights behind him, his mansion quiet and strong like a fortress. Voiceover. Some men build walls to keep others out. Marcus Reed built his to remind them he made it in. The next morning, the sky was pale gray, heavy with the promise of rain. Marcus stood by the large window in his study, a cup of coffee in his hand. The night before still played in his mind like a silent film. The disbelief, the disrespect, the gate that wouldn't open for its own master. He had seen many kinds of battles in deserts and jungles and boardrooms, but this one was different. This one was personal. On the table beside him lay his old military badge scratched, faded but still shining faintly in the light. He picked it up and turned it between his fingers. "They forgot respect," he said quietly. His phone buzzed. It was a message from one of his team members. All units ready. Sir? Marcus typed only 2 words. Proceed silently. A few miles away, black SUVs began to move again, not loud, not rushed, but in perfect order. The same special ops team from last night had returned, but this time, they weren't responding to a call. They were on a mission, Marcus's personal mission of dignity, at the mansion gate. The same guards stood, trying to look confident, though their eyes were filled with guilt. One of them whispered, "You think he's still mad?" The other shook his head. "Man like him, he doesn't get mad. He gets even." Moments later, the SUVs appeared again, rolling down the street in a perfect line. Neighbors peeked through curtains, whispering. When the cars stopped, the air shifted. The first door opened, and the lead officer stepped out, scanning the area. The guards stiffened instantly. Then Marcus's car followed behind. Silent, smooth, powerful. He stepped out slowly, dressed in a black shirt. No tie, no smile. The HOA woman rushed out of her house, nervous. "Mr. Reed." We didn't expect." Marcus raised his hand, stopping her mid-sentence. His eyes were calm, but there was steel behind them. "Yesterday, you questioned who I am," he said softly. "Today, I'll show you." He turned to his team. "You know what to do." The officers spread out like a wave, not aggressive, just efficient. One of them walked to the security post. Another checked the neighborhood's surveillance system. Within minutes, the HOA computers were accessed legally, through authority Marcus already had as the property owner. The woman looked shocked. "Wait, you can't?" Marcus interrupted. "I own this land, every square foot of it, including the system you think controls me." The HOA man stuttered, "But that's impossible." Marcus handed him a document folder. "Read it. Deed, ownership, security management contract. Signed 2 years ago?" The man flipped through the pages, his hands shaking. His eyes widened when he saw the official stamps. You own the entire block." Marcus nodded once. "And I've been paying for the protection of everyone here, including you." The silence that followed was heavy. The guards looked down, embarrassed. The neighbors who had gathered began to whisper again. But now their tone had changed, not mockery, but respect. Marcus took a slow breath and said quietly, "You didn't just stop a man at a gate. You stopped a soldier who fought for this country, a businessman who built this community, and a father who teaches his child to respect everyone." The HOA woman's eyes watered slightly. "We didn't mean harm." Marcus looked at her, expressionless. Intention doesn't erase insult. He turned to the guards. "From now on, if anyone questions who I am, show them this." He handed over a laminated ID, not for himself, but for his team. Labeled Primary Security Authority Marcus Reed Estates, the guards took it carefully. Heads lowered, Marcus walked to the gate, his steps steady. He placed his hand on the metal bars that had once refused him. "Open," he said quietly. The system beeped, and the gates parted slowly. The wind carried a faint echo, like the gates themselves were apologizing, as he walked through. "Hey," one of his men whispered. "Sir, what do you want us to do about the report?" Marcus paused, his back still turned. "No report. Just a reminder." The officer nodded. "Understood." Marcus looked back once, his voice calm but final. "Respect isn't demanded. It's demonstrated." He stepped inside. The gate closing gently behind him, the camera pans out, the mansion standing tall, the black SUVs lined outside, and the entire neighborhood frozen in silent awe. Voiceover. Power isn't loud. It doesn't shout or fight. Real power simply arrives and changes everything. The sun was bright that afternoon, but the air still felt heavy with yesterday's mistake. People in the neighborhood had gathered again, pretending to walk their dogs or check their mail, but everyone's eyes were on Marcus's mansion. Word had spread fast. "The man they stopped owns everything," one neighbor whispered. "He's ex-military. Special ops," said another. The HOA leaders were already at the gate, waiting nervously. The guards stood stiff like statues, afraid to speak. At exactly noon, the the same black SUV arrived. The engine stopped, and the silence grew thick. Marcus stepped out slowly, wearing a dark gray shirt and sunglasses. His calmness was more powerful than anger. The HOA woman stepped forward. "Mr. Reed, please, we'd like to talk." Marcus removed his sunglasses and looked directly at her. His voice was steady. "Talk. You had your chance yesterday. You didn't talk then? You judged." The woman swallowed hard. "We made a mistake. We didn't recognize you." Marcus tilted his head slightly. "Recognition isn't respect. You don't have to know someone to treat them with basic decency." The man beside her stepped in nervously. "We were following policy, sir." Marcus's lips curved into a faint smile. "Policy? Your policy says you can stop a homeowner based on assumption?" No one answered. The silence was louder than any reply. Behind Marcus, two members of his special ops team stood quietly, not threatening, just watchful. Their disciplined presence made the HOA even more uneasy. Marcus turned slightly toward the guards. "Do you remember what you said to me yesterday?" One guard stammered, "Sir, we were just—" Marcus interrupted softly. "You said you don't belong here." The guard lowered his head, ashamed. Marcus looked around at the crowd. That's a heavy sentence for a man who paid for every brick of this place. He stepped closer to the gate, his voice calm but deep. "I built this mansion with my own money. I've paid every fee, every tax, and even donated to this community. Yet in a few minutes, all that meant nothing. Because of what? My face? My color?" The woman blinked rapidly, words failing her. "It's not like that." Marcus nodded slowly. "It's exactly like that. You saw what you wanted to see, but I'm not angry. I'm disappointed." The crowd behind the fence was silent now. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small medal. It's the same one from his military days. He held it up. "This is the Medal of Valor. I earned it after saving 7 soldiers during combat. I've faced bullets, bombs, and blood, but I never expected to face disbelief at my own gate." A soft murmur spread through the crowd. The HOA man's face turned pale. Marcus continued, his tone steady. "I've seen men of every color fight for one flag side by side. Nobody cared about race when lives were on the line. Respect was earned by action, not appearance." He handed the medal to the guard who stopped him yesterday. "You keep this for a week. Look at it every day. Remember what it stands for: courage, fairness, and respect." The guard's hands trembled as he took it. "Sir, I'm sorry." Marcus nodded once. Apology accepted, but learn from it. The HOA woman's eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Reed, we'll issue a public statement. We'll apologize to you and your family." Marcus gave a faint smile. "You don't owe me words. You owe this community change." He turned toward the neighbors, who were now watching with admiration. "Teach your children that respect has no color. Tell them that power doesn't mean control. It means responsibility." He looked back at the gate one last time. Yesterday, this gate was a barrier. Today, it's a lesson. With that, he nodded to his team. The officers saluted, then stepped aside. Marcus walked through the open gate, slow, calm, unbothered, as everyone watched in silence. The camera follows him from behind. The sound of the gate closing echoes like thunder, marking the end of judgment and the beginning of awareness. Voiceover. Respect isn't about who stands in front of the gate. It's about who has the strength to walk through it with dignity. The evening sun painted the mansion walls with a soft golden glow. Everything looked calm again. The street was quiet. The guards were gone, and the iron gate stood open, like it finally understood its purpose. Inside, Marcus sat in the living room, watching his daughter, Amelia, play with her toy blocks on the carpet. She was building a small house, one piece at a time, humming a tune. The sound of her laughter filled the whole room, light, pure, and peaceful. Marcus smiled faintly. He had faced war, fire, and fear, but this little girl was his greatest reason to fight for peace. Amelia looked up suddenly and said, "Daddy, Why were those people mean to you yesterday? Marcus paused, his hand resting on the arm of the chair. He had faced soldiers and generals. But this question, simple and innocent, felt heavier than any bullet. He leaned forward, his voice soft. Sometimes, baby, people judge what they don't understand. They look at someone and think they know their story, but they don't. Amelia tilted her head. So they thought you were bad? Marcus smiled gently. Yes, but that's okay, because I know who I am. And one day, you'll learn that what people think of you doesn't change what's true about you. She nodded slowly, as if she understood. Then she said, Did you forgive them? Marcus looked at her with warmth. No. Did? Because forgiveness isn't for them, it's for me. It means I'm free. He stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. The same guards were back on duty, standing with their heads held straight. They had come earlier to apologize again, promising to do better. Marcus had shaken their hands. The HOA had sent an official letter that morning, a full apology, signed by every member. They had even asked Marcus to join as a board advisor, to help bring real change to the community. He hadn't answered yet. As the sun dipped lower, Marcus stepped out to the balcony, holding his daughter's hand. Together, they watched the gate in silence. He spoke softly, as if sharing a secret with the wind. This house is not about walls and gates, Amelia. It's about lessons. Every time someone doubts you, you can choose anger or grace, and grace will always be stronger. Amelia leaned her head on his arm. You're strong, Daddy, Marcus smiled. No, strength isn't about fighting, baby. It's about standing tall when others expect you to fall. Inside the house, the TV played quietly, a news segment covering the incident. The reporter's voice echoed faintly. Former Special Operations Officer and entrepreneur Marcus Reed was mistaken for a trespasser outside his own mansion. Today he turned the moment into a message of unity and respect. Clips showed neighbors thanking him, some admitting they had learned something important. The story had gone viral overnight, spreading across the internet. People from different countries were commenting, "Salute to this man. Respect and patience. That's real power. The world needs more people like him." Marcus turned off the TV. He didn't need fame. He only wanted peace. Later that night, when Amelia was asleep, Marcus sat in his study again. The same photo wall stood before him: childhood, war, family, success. But this time, he added a new photo: the gate. Taken earlier that day, he placed it beside his military picture and whispered, "This one's for a different kind of battle." The camera slowly pans across the photos, from a poor boy under a streetlight to a soldier in uniform, to a man standing tall at his mansion gate. Marcus leaned back in his chair and looked at the ceiling. The soft hum of the night surrounded him. He whispered to himself, "Respect isn't built with bricks. It's built with choices." Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees. The camera pulls away, showing the mansion from above, glowing in the quiet night. The iron gate, once a symbol of judgment, now stood open, a reminder that no wall can keep truth out. The screen fades to black. Voiceover, final lines. We all have gates in our lives, moments when the world doubts who we are. Don't waste your strength proving them wrong. Use it to prove yourself right. Because respect isn't given. It's earned one act of grace at a time.